This session is 202, How to Keep Them Coming Back for More. Our presenter today is Jason Marion. He's an Instructional Design Media Program Manager at VCA Antech, which is veterinary clinics. He is the Instructional Design Media Program Manager and has managed the development of instructional design and training materials and services since 2000. He's developed virtual world scenario-based training, advanced gaming-based lessons, and engaging online courses that drive measurable business results. Jason specializes in adult learning theory, gamification, edutainment, and e-learning and mLearning, targeting Generation X and Y in the workplace. He has managed award-winning teams that have researched new ways to integrate technology to enhance learning and reinforce content. He joined VCA in 2012 to develop and deliver cutting-edge training to the veterinary industry. Jason holds an MS degree in educational and instructional technology. During his session today, you will learn what software is practical for an instructional designer to use to develop a virtual environment, how to develop a successful mobile strategy to engage the learner, how to maximize the potential of a mobile device for training, and how to create interactive learning usable for all platforms. With this, I'm going to turn it over to Jason.
So there are some shortcomings that we do have to keep in mind. Obviously, when we talk about how learners are learning today and what to do best in mobile learning and strategies, the biggest thing is that short videos, short, crisp interactions, they are powerful. But for a lot of companies that I've worked with, their culture is hour-long, 30-minute long e-learning courses, and so they feel like the mLearning may not be as powerful a tool as they would hope for. But there are some ways that they can overcome that, and one of the ways to get user buy-in and to get executive support is the supplemental training as an initial kickoff. You might want to use something that allows them to first maybe enhance an ILT session or an e-learning module. It might be a augmented reality of a product. It might be a chat room that they can access to get follow-up information from a SME, for example. Chunking your trainings. So rather than having an hour-long course, you might put together a curriculum with 10 videos in it, broken down into more manageable viewing and streaming capabilities. You can also engage, if you do absolutely want that engagement, that interaction with your users, then be sure that you are using proper interactions, that you are using simulations or video demonstrations versus that e-learning look and feel with the mouse clicks. And incentive-based training is always something that our younger generations are going to like. They like the gaming and the gamifications. A lot of LMSs, a lot of apps will encourage that type of learning methodology as well. The other issues are two other challenges, and that's multitasking and high expectations. And so when we think about users and how they are hired, we like multitasking as a trait. But then when we go to train them, we ask them to sit down in front of a computer and focus on that training. And again, that's going against everything that they do and the reason we hired them in the first place. So again, trying to embrace that skill set of multitasking and allowing audio trainings or podcasts that allow them to access these courses, these modules through their mobile device while they're multitasking is a great way to get the user buy-in. If you do want to make that interaction, you have to be sure that you can keep their keep their engagement throughout the process. Virtual online classrooms with the face-to-face webcams works great for us. Software simulations and the see it and try it engagement works great. You saw that with the surgery app as well. So there's a couple of really powerful ways that you can get that engagement other than the simple click next to make users feel engaged. And then the high expectations. I have, like I had mentioned before, I have a 7-year-old son, and he's grown up. He's had an iPhone since he was 4. Um, not for calls, no contract, but he was able to access apps. He's been able to access the internet. He uses it when he's reading a book if he needs to look up words. So he knows how to use that device. Well, I still have my, from the late 80s, I still have my Nintendo system. And I got him to play with me. He's an Xbox 360 and Xbox One now kind of kid. But I got him to play 10-Yard Fight, which was my favorite game growing up. And within a minute of playing, he was so frustrated. He was like, where's my playbook? Why is the team all the same color? There's only 2 buttons on this controller. The controller doesn't shake when you tackle me. He was getting so frustrated. We lasted about 1 quarter, and he said, this is boring. I'm done. And the fact is, he's looking for that next thing. He's looking for what Xbox 360 and Xbox One brings him. And our learners in our workforce are expecting the same thing. When they're exiting high school and then into college, and college into the workplace, there should be a professional development that is above where they just came. If they went to a very highly reputable school, they had a constant technology engagement for learning, and then they step into a workforce which is outdated, it's going to reflect on their attitude when they come to work and when they want that professional development. So when we develop a successful mobile strategy to engage the learner, we have to do a couple of things. One, put it in writing. This is very, very critical. I've had a number of clients try and test different strategies, different user interfaces, but they never put it in writing, and there was never a cohesion at the end of it. It was a little bit everywhere, and they never got the user acceptance and user buy-in. And so when you talk to their executives, they say, oh, we tried it, it didn't work for us. But it's really because they didn't have a foundation to build on. They didn't put it in writing. It also needs to complement the e-learning. If you have an e-learning, which most companies already have an e-learning strategy put into place, their mLearning should complement that. It shouldn't be something completely different. It should be an enhancement to what your mobile strategies are already as a company, and it should reflect your company's culture. And then finally, your flexibility. We want to be specific, but we have to have the flexibility to adjust as the technology adjusts and evolves. There's a couple of real popular teaching methods that we use. It includes social media. We've tried Jive and Yammer. Our LMS also offered a mobile social media component, but it allows you to access discussion boards and coaching sessions. Again, sharing best practices. The virtual classroom, we actually use the Adobe Connect, but we use a lot of custom pods that gives it a very face-to-face fun interaction for the learners, and it allows us to bring roundtables of experts to a large group. Podcasts or streaming videos. Us being in LA, we're fortunate enough to have enough professional production crews to, when we publish videos, we publish them all professionally. But again, just making sure you're keeping in mind that the video is meant to stream on a mobile device rather than your PC. You are going to change some of your settings. You need to keep that in mind when you're developing those videos. And then simulations or online courses is the other, which we've talked quite a bit about already. So my last polling question is, which mobile teaching method interests you most? Social media is a real great component to start off with. It's one of the simplest to use. It's something a lot of employees or a lot of users already are familiar with. The biggest pushback I have seen is just simply policing that social media to making sure conversations are appropriate and encouraging. That's the one thing that our executives struggle with, that buy-in, and that's the biggest hurdle I find with working with executives. The simulations or online courses obviously is very popular, but again, making sure they are truly simulations and not just a course. So when we talk about developing that mobile strategy, how are you going to host those? Are you going to build your own HTML5 website? Are you going to build your own LMS? Have an iTunes account, a corporate YouTube account, or the biggest trend right now, which is the app? Again, thinking how users are already comfortable with accessing information on their phone, that app is becoming more and more popular. And a matter of fact, our own LMS, we use Cornerstone On Demand, they have a mobile app. A lot of LMSs do offer mobile capabilities. So maybe if you're in the market now or soon going to be in the market for an LMS, take a look at whether or not an LMS has mobile capabilities and an offline player. Um, we have we have the ability to have an offline player, which helps with users not having to use up their data plan. Because again, thinking about that user experience, they are allowed to download courses while they're connected to Wi-Fi, complete the course, and then go access their Wi-Fi again and upload that course. We give them like a 2-week time frame so that there's version control. But again, that gives them a chance to access courses without having to use up their data plan, which is a very big benefit for our users, and we don't have to worry about um, the um, the Wi-Fi capabilities with cellular coverage. So how do you use do any of you guys currently use a mobile app to distribute training today? Check yes, uh, check for yes, and then X for no, just so that we can find out what it is that you're using it for. And you can get to that if you're,
you
you
can
can,
use your status, it's the hand raising icon up at the top of the screen, the status indicators, green check mark for yes or red X for no.
again, we're fortunate enough, we have a LMS that built an app for us. There's some, but if you can customize an app, I know augmented reality is becoming more and more popular. It's a great device for product identification, for sales training, and for even for us mobile, or when we use equipment, new equipment comes in to educate staff. That AR is a great way, if you have an app built for that, to use it. And again, it's enough where it gets people involved using their mobile devices, but it's not the main source of training or professional development for the company. So then developing a mobile strategy, you also need to define what devices you're going to use. Be very specific. Are you developing for Androids, Apple's devices, or Windows? Smartphones versus tablets. And then identifying which practical software to use. You have to keep in mind when you're developing or identifying what software you want to use, to identify who your target audience is, and so what kind of content you're really going to develop and what your resources are. What's your skill set of your current staff? What time do you have? Most times that we have training that we needed it yesterday. I was brought into VCA specifically because of my skill set to develop avatar worlds, but I don't always have the time to do it because they needed the development of the course yesterday. And manpower. A lot of my clients, I will build out courses for them using this type of technology, but once I hand it off to them, they have no one internally to be able to manage to update small little changes, and they have to come back to me as a contractor to make those changes. So keep that in mind if you're going to select people that can help you get something off the ground, but will you have the manpower internally to maintain and manage it and update it, or will you be required to always use those contractors and those vendors? Again, some of those software asset design softwares I've talked about, and there is an extensive list I have on the handouts, but these are ones that I commonly use today. And then the biggest thing with the best practice hint is keep it simple, stupid. Get that initial buy-in from your users and by your executives, which can be the difficulty sometimes, and then expand your strategy as your resources expand. And then when I say don't keep it boring, it doesn't mean to simply click that HTML button on an e-learning course. It means still make it engaging, but it can be like a simple user interface. Maybe it is just that social media component right now, or it's just a video, and there isn't that engagement right off the bat. And then take a look at how these, again, emphasizing how the gamers are developing courses or developing interactions on the mobile devices. They're using simple graphics. They require big motions, and they're easy enough for children and adults alike to interact with those video games. And then company culture. It's got to reflect your company culture. To get the user acceptance, it has to be something that they're already familiar with, both from you as an organization and the executives want to see it and see that buy-in. It has to reflect what it is that you stand for as a company, and who you're hiring, and how you provide training, and how you provide that professional development or succession for your employees.